Now for the first chapter of Zoey and Sassafras, Monsters and Mold. Story by Asia Citro. Chapter 1, The Bread Experiments. Splurk. I laughed. The sound of the moldy bread squishing inside the Ziploc bag was super gross. So I poked the bag again. Splurk. My cat jumped up on the table to see what I was doing. A cool breeze from the window ruffled his fluffy fur, and he squinted in the sunlight. Splurk! He jumped back and hissed. "It's okay, Sassafras," I said, giggling and tickling his chin. "The mold is sealed inside the bag. It won't get you, kitty." My cat didn't look convinced. "It's actually pretty cool. I'm running 2 experiments with the old bread Mom found. See?" I said and pointed across the room. "That experiment over there is testing whether wet bread molds faster than dry bread." I poked the bag on the table again. "And this one is testing whether warm bread molds faster than cold bread. That's why it's here in the sun." Sassafras poked a toe at the bag and wrinkled his nose. "There are other bags in the fridge and freezer, but they don't have any mold yet, which means this one is much more fun to look at. Don't you think, kitty?" Sassafras scrunched up his face and jumped off the table. I guess he didn't enjoy these mold experiments as much as I did. Maybe he was too busy hoping the magic doorbell would ring. But ever since the sweet baby dragon I'd nursed back to health had left, the doorbell had been disappointingly silent. I was trying to fill my time with experiments to keep my mind busy. Working on science was way more fun than sitting outside my mom's office, waiting and waiting and waiting for the sound of the magic doorbell. I sighed. Outside the window, there was a rustling in the bushes. Sassafras leaped onto the table. He pointed his ears toward our backyard and held very still, listening. "You heard that, right?" I whispered to Sassafras. He meowed once in reply, without taking his eyes off the yard. We both pressed our faces to the window screen. Maybe it was a deer or a cute little chipmunk. The bushes rustled again. Then something, or someone, cleared its throat. Sassafras and I jumped. Maybe we'll start on chapter 2. Pardon me. My heart pounded and my stomach did flip-flops. I couldn't think of any forest animal that cleared its throat. My mom was out running errands. Should I get my dad? Maybe I just imagined that noise. I could think of one way to find out. Hello? Is someone out there?" I squeaked. The bushes parted, and a creature about the same size as me walked out. He was furry, orange, and had giant ears with 2 horns on top of his head. He squinted at me and Sassafras with his 2 big eyes. He looked like a monster. I stood there, frozen with my mouth hanging open. The monster brushed his fur off and cleared his throat again. He seemed like he was about to say something. Could monsters talk? Sassafras broke the silence by launching out of my arms. Before I could stop him, he flew out the cat door and raced toward the monster outside. I began to follow, but stopped. That was an awfully tall monster. But then again, I didn't want Sassafras to get hurt. What should I do? I took a deep breath. Mom never said there were dangerous magical creatures in our forest, so maybe the monster was really big and really friendly. I crossed my fingers that this would be true as I ran outside. The monster stood with his arms in the air, looking terrified. Sassafras galloped towards him. Once he was close enough, my cat leaped into the air and aimed straight at the monster's chest. The monster screamed, "What is that? Help me! He stumbled backwards. Was my cat trying to leap into the monster's arms? The monster wouldn't keep still, so Sassafras gave up and started purring furiously at the trembling monster's feet. He bumped his head against the monster's legs and kept purring. The monster put his hands up to his cheeks in horror and shrieked again. It's trying to eat me. I can hear its tummy growling from here. Oh, help me. I scooped Sassafras into my arms. I'm so sorry. My cat isn't trying to hurt you. I think he just really likes you. Sassafras strained in my arms, wanting to love on the monster more. I squeezed him to my chest a little tighter. Likes me enough to eat me, the monster huffed. I giggled. Sassafras eats cat food, not monsters, I promise. The monster calmed down a bit. He took a closer look at me and wrinkled his face. I thought you were a bigger human from the stories I have heard in the forest. I stood up a bit straighter. The stories you heard were probably about my mom, but I'm big enough to help you. The monster raised an eyebrow. Are you sure? You seem rather small. I moved Sassafras over to my hip. I know all about the magic doorbell in the barn. I even helped a baby dragon all by myself. Really? The monster seemed a little more convinced. I love dragons. Me too, I said with a sigh. Remembering little Marshmallow, I figured out what was wrong with the baby dragon, who didn't even speak. So I'm sure I can help you, I added confidently. I mean, really, how hard could this be with someone who could answer questions? The monster looked me over once more, then he nodded. As I'm sure you know, it's almost time for the annual Monster Ball. The Monster Ball? An annual monster dance? The thought of a bunch of monsters dancing together almost made me laugh out loud. I didn't want to seem rude, though. I also didn't want to look like I'd never heard of the Monster Ball, so I nodded and smiled. Well, anyway, it's coming up in a few days, he continued. For as long as I can remember, I've had a bit of an embarrassing problem, and because of it, I've never gone to the big dance. But I'd really like to go this year. I was hoping you could help me get rid of it. At this, he turned around. I gasped. The monster's fur was covered in mold. And that's the end of chapters 1 and 2, and we will do the next chapters next time. Thank you and goodbye from Cindy.